Welcome to Inside the NBA on TNT. I'm here with Alan and Morgan, and I'm Drew. We're going to be talking about the NBA's dark horse contenders for a ring this year. Morgan, who do you have as a dark horse?
I have a dark horse that's coming out of some decent amount of success, not a lot of success, but I have the Atlanta Hawks. Although they did get far, they did get far, but everybody's been kind of not talking about them. They've been talking about the Nets, obviously, the Lakers, all of them. I think that the Hawks can still be solid title contenders. I think that they can win the NBA championship.
Alan?
Um, I'm going to go on a hot take here. I think it's the Detroit Pistons. Hear me out. I think that, with the first round draft pick, that's most likely going to be Cade Cunningham. We get Jeremy Grant back, who was voted one of the most improved players. Sadiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart earned all rookie team honors. Killian Hayes seems like he's going to develop really nicely. And barring, some great offseason moves, I could see the Pistons making a playoff run this year.
Yeah, I've got, coming out of the East, I've got the Orlando Magic as a dark horse playoff contender. If they can get a full healthy season out of Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz, I think they're truly going to be a contender, especially because all the shots that Vucevic and Gordon took are now going to Fultz and Isaac. I think that they can really be one of the great dynamic young duos in the league. So we're opening up to studio questions now.
This is a question for Alan. What moves do you see the Pistons making this offseason?
Good question. I could see us signing a player like Tim Hardaway Jr. He averaged double figures last year for the Dallas Mavericks. I think that he would be a nice addition to a young but all the same talented roster. I think that we could sign a veteran talented player, somebody like what Chris Paul was last year or DeMar DeRozan. I'm not saying that we'll get either of those players, but I think that we could afford like a Victor Oladipo. So yeah, I think we could do pretty well this offseason.
Those are some pretty solid options for the Pistons. We have time for one more studio question.
Yeah, I have a question for Alan as well. What do you see the Pistons' ceiling being, and what do you see their floor being?
Good question. I think the floor would be 25 to 30 wins. But, I think that this team still could have a long way to go. But I think the ceiling, honestly, call me crazy, between 45 and 50 wins. You look at who we have coming back. Isaiah Stewart, Sadiq Bey, like I mentioned, who were voted to a rookie team honors. Jeremy Grant voted one of the most improved players last year. We actually have, I know we were rebuilding, and we'll assume that we add Cade Cunningham. We actually have a playoff roster that's capable of making it not just to the playoffs, maybe it's like a top 3 or 4 seed.
Yeah, that's some interesting topics, especially in the East, where there's top 3 or 4 teams, and then it gets a little more muddled. I think the Pistons actually are they're pretty silent usually in the off season, but the number one pick really could be a revitalization for their organization. Morgan, do you have anybody out of the Western Conference?
Not really right now. I think that we pretty much covered. I don't see anybody out of the West. I think that's pretty much sealed up, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Then again, I'm not the biggest basketball person, but I do know enough to see how
Yeah.
good the teams that are in there are just. I just don't think they're beatable.
Okay, well, thank you for watching. This has been Inside the NBA with Morgan Allen and me, Drew Aurelio.